What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Joe Knows Hoops channel. Hope you're all doing well. Now, when the Lakers wrapped up the draft, I think most fans like myself, my attention immediately went to Cameron Carr, a lottery pick that dropped to the 24th pick. But the more I looked into the rest of the guys the Lakers got, the more curious I was. Who are these guys? What do the Lakers see in them? And is there someone here who could end up surprising people over the next couple of years? So I spent some time watching film, digging through the numbers, and putting together my thoughts on the four additions that stood out to me the most. Today we're going to be talking about Cameron Carr, obviously, Ike Okereke, Peter Suter, and William Kyle III. I'll go through what I liked, where I still have questions, and what I think each player needs to prove if they're going to earn a spot in the Lakers' future. Let's get into it. Start with Cameron Carr. Cameron Carr was the 24th pick in the 2026 NBA draft. Lakers traded up one spot with the Knicks to get him. When I turned on the film, the first thing that stood out to me wasn't his shooting or his stats. It was this dude's pure athleticism. He's constantly running the floor, getting out in transition, and playing above the rim. You can immediately see why the Lakers were intrigued by his physical tools, even though they didn't work him out. At almost 6'6" with nearly a 7'1" wingspan, he already has the size and length teams look for in modern NBA wings. Defensively, I think that's where his biggest upside is. He has the tools to guard multiple positions, disrupt passing lanes, and make plays simply because of his length and athleticism. He wasn't known as a defensive guy in college, but I think he really has the chops to be able to progress into a guy like that, like Mikal Bridges. Offensively, I also like that he doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective. He's comfortable cutting, filling the lane in transition, and spotting up from three. He shot about just 37% from beyond the arc this past season, so there's a foundation to build on as a floor spacer alongside Luka Doncic. I did notice in some of the film is that he does take NBA threes consistently when he was at Baylor. Now, the biggest question I do have for him is his handle. Right now, I don't think it's quite tight enough to consistently create his own offense against NBA defenders. In college, his athleticism can make up for that at times. At the NBA level, defenders are stronger, longer, and quicker. If he can improve his ball handling and become more comfortable creating off the dribble, I think that changes the trajectory of his career. I really like this pick. The Lakers aren't drafting a finished project, obviously. He dropped for a good reason. But he does have elite physical tools, defensive upside, and a player who's already shown he can impact the game without dominating the ball. He started out at Tennessee, then when he transferred to Baylor, had an immediate impact on the team. If the candle comes along, I think Cameron Carr has a real chance to become an important piece of the future. He's the type of wing that the Lakers have been missing. He's NBA-ready athleticism, and hopefully he's a long-term fit next to Luka Doncic. Next up is Ike Okereke, and honestly, I think he's one of the more fascinating players the Lakers brought in. The reason I say that is because the film and the numbers tell two slightly different stories. When you look at the stats, they're really impressive. He shot 40% from three, around 80% from the free throw line, and finished nearly 70% of his shots at the rim. Those are incredibly efficient numbers, especially for a forward. But when I watched the film, I just came away with one big question. How well does his athletic profile translate to the NBA? This guy didn't start playing organized basketball in senior year of high school. He has a really strong frame. He plays under control. He has a high basketball IQ. He did come in measuring at 245 pounds, 6'7" height. He finishes extremely well around the basket. He was getting fouled a lot, and he was shooting about 80% from the free throw line. It just gave me a pause, though, his burst. He looks very methodical and moves kind of slow rather than explosive. I don't consistently see the type of first step or lateral quickness that you typically associate with NBA wings. So out of the gate, I think that's what kind of held him back from getting drafted. And that's something that I'll be watching closely as he plays at the South Bay / Palm Springs. Now, that doesn't mean he can't make it necessarily. Not every, successful NBA role player is an elite athlete. Players stick because they understand their role, defend, make the right reads, and knock down open shots. He showed that he could this past year at Vanderbilt. Previous seasons, he did shoot a pretty poor percentage, but free throw percentage is 80%, like I said. Those tend to translate better into shooters. The swing skill, I think, is just his translation into the NBA as an athlete. If his shooting proves to be real, he's going to be able to defend multiple positions despite not being an elite athlete. I think he has a legitimate chance to make the rotation. It's just, I don't know where he slots in on where he's guarding. I just don't think he has the foot speed to be able to keep up with faster guys. His frame does say that he could probably guard bigger wings, but could be limited in terms of what you're looking for. So I understand why the Lakers took a chance on him. He's productive, efficient, and he still has room to develop. Now it's about like translating those strengths into the NBA. Next up is Peter Suter, and honestly I think he was probably the biggest surprise for me out of this group. I really enjoyed watching some of his highlights and just looking kind of at the stats. Coming in the film, I expected to see, obviously, just a guy that's a shooter. He shot about 42% from three this past season, so naturally that's what I was looking for. But really caught my eye was how comfortable he was attacking closeouts. He wasn't just standing around waiting for shots. He was putting the ball on the floor, getting into the paint, making the next read, and playing with really good pace. He's definitely not the quickest guy or explosive guard, but he never really looked rushed. I thought he did a really good job of letting the game come to him. One thing I did find interesting, though, is that he did shoot a pretty low free throw percentage for what I was assuming that he was going to be able to do. He was just about 73.4 on the year. So for someone who shoots the ball well from three, seeing him around 73% definitely surprised me. It doesn't automatically mean his shooting won't translate, but it's something I'll definitely be keeping an eye on. Defensively, I think that's where the biggest questions are. I don't think he has elite lateral quickness, and I wonder how he'll hold up against some of the quicker guards in the NBA. At the same time, though, I thought he competed. He has a strong frame. He takes contact well. When he gets his chest in front of his matchup, I thought he did a nice job staying in the play. His swing skill could be his defense. I think the offense is going to give him a chance to make it. The shooting, the basketball IQ, and his decision-making all stood out to me. But if he could defend well enough to stay on the floor, I think he has a legitimate opportunity to carve out a role in the NBA. He feels like one of the safer offensive bets, and then the guys that the Lakers got on the two-way in Exhibit 10s. He's never going to wow you with elite athleticism, but he does a lot of the little things well. Last but not least, let's talk about William Kyle III. Out of everyone the Lakers brought in, I think he's the easiest player to define. He's an energy big, flat out. When I watched his film, I wasn't looking for post moves or a three-point shot. I wanted to see how he impacted the game overall without needing the ball, and that's exactly what kind of stood out to me. He's constantly running the floor, setting hard screens, protecting the rim, and finishing around the basket. His athleticism immediately jumps off the screen, and some of the dunks he throws down are pretty impressive. He's a really active shot blocker, after averaging about 2.5 blocks per game, and he plays with the kind of motor that coaches love. Now, the only question is his size. At 6'9", he's going to be asked to battle against a lot of these NBA centers. Talking about Wembanyama, Karl Towns, the double big lineup in OKC. A lot of these guys are way bigger than him. The league's starting to trend back towards bigger front courts, so it'll be interesting to see whether his athleticism and energy can make up for that. Another area I'll be watching is his free throw shooting. It's pretty abysmal. About 45%, and I do feel like guys that have a high energy that come into the NBA are going to have foul discipline. He's going to be a really active defender, and that aggression could definitely lead to more fouls, but we'll see how long he's able to take to adjust to NBA speed. The swing skill is whether his athleticism can overcome his size. I don't think he needs to become an offensive star because you have Reeves and Luka out there. He just needs to be able to protect the rim, run the floor, catch lobs, and then bring energy every single night.